Welcome to Heart Magic Wisdom. Today's video is called Everyone is Pretending. And I can prove it, and it's also very obvious, but sometimes we don't see it clearly. So here is what I mean. When a child goes to school, the child cannot do what it wants, or it gets punishment or negative feedback if it does what it wants to do. Even if it's not really bad things, it's just not in line with the idea of the teacher. And when I went to school in German class, when we had to write essays, I always wanted to write about philosophical topics. I wanted to explore ideas. And whenever I did this, I got like a medium good grade. And one time my teacher even wrote she didn't understand it under the grade. And after this, I switched to writing more like simple stories. So this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And from then on, I always got very good grades. And so this is just a simple example of me changing my behavior from something I would have preferred to something I wanted less, just because of the reward and punishment system that the school has. And for me, this was just a very noticeable example, but it obviously applies to all sorts of social behaviors, which is mostly the important thing. So you learn to act in a certain way, so you get other people to react in a certain way. And I mean, obviously also with your parents, you learn strategies as a child or as a baby even to get your needs met. So it's like you're hungry and you cry and then your parents come. That's already a strategy, but that's maybe an authentic strategy. But let's say your parents sometimes come home in a bad mood and then they are aggressive towards you or just accuse you or just emotionally not there for you. Then maybe you develop a strategy of being extra nice when they come home so that they maybe can relax and calm down. So this would mean you would put up a slightly fake act. You would behave a little bit different than you would normally. And you're doing this because you know that otherwise the evening is going to be unpleasant. If you are just like in your room and minding your own business, then sooner or later maybe your parents would crash out or they would yell or something, and you really hate that. So now instead of staying in your room, you go out there, you meet them, you say, hey, how was your day? Oh yeah, cool, blah, blah. And you do this thing that you wouldn't have done if it wasn't required strategically for you to be in peace. And if you did this like for years maybe, then now your personality may reflect this in other situations. And you think maybe you are this super empathetic, helpful person, but it all stemmed from a strategy that you had to develop because you couldn't just stay in your room and have it be peaceful. You needed this as a strategy. But now it has not only become a type of personality, it's now also something that's an unconscious thing. You're unconscious of why you are this way. And so now when we grow up after school, after the experience with our parents, even if we assume there's no ill will anywhere, it's just what happens. So no ill will on your part, no ill will on the other people's part. Let's just say it all just kind of happens. It's just that it all happens unconsciously. The teachers were unconscious, your parents were unconscious of the fact that they are doing this and whether or not this is a desired outcome. And you, as you grow up, are more or less or will become more or less unconscious of how all these situations have affected your personality and your outlook on life and situations. And now you go into the job market and you apply for a job, and many people think about writing down some skills that they don't even have just to look good. I mean, I guess it depends on the type of work you're in, but let me give you another example. I watched this YouTuber called Louis Rossmann, who is a MacBook repair guy, and he was looking for a new place to rent as his work building to do the repairs in. And it was in New York. And whenever he went to look at a place that's listed for rent, the numbers of square meters that were advertised were wrong. So he brought his own measuring device and measured it himself. And the discrepancy was like 30% or 40%. It was less space than was advertised. And when he asked the real estate agent about this, they just said, well, you know, this is New York real estate. So the assumption is that you market too high. And this is so interesting because now everyone apparently knows that this is how it is. And everyone now is kind of in a bind because, like, who can break out of it? If you advertise it accurately in terms of square feet or square meters, then everyone will think it's now even smaller. And if you advertise it in the way that they do, then they are lying essentially, but consciously. And it's this whole complicated game where there's no real easy way out of it. And if in certain areas of life things get out of hand like this, where the lying is implicit and everyone is conscious of it, I mean, that's one thing and it's already very annoying. But oftentimes the lying is something that people do unconsciously because they have just learned that this is how you behave, this is just normal. I mean, of course you say, for example, it's not me, it's you. You know, the classical line from in a movie, if two people break up, one person says to the other one, it's not you, it's me. And it's just apparently something you say and you don't think about the content of the words. It's just now ingrained as a figure of speech. And now you become the fool if you take people seriously, if you take people by their word, if you listen to the words and you take it for the truth, then now you are the fool. And I mean, it's just a crazy game. It's implicitly understood in our society that you can't really listen to the words many of the times because they just aren't accurate. And I will do a follow-up video on why you should still try to get back to speaking the truth yourself. Be very reflective of yourself and see whether the words you say actually are what you mean, or if it's just the phrase that you have learned to say, or the things that you think are expected of you to say. And obviously not in all situations. You have to still be strategic about it, but in most situations you can. Like, for example, for me, one of the first time I realized this is when I was like a teenager, and I noticed that when I was late and I was texting somebody and saying, hey, I'm on my way, I exaggerated how fast I would be there. So I would know I would be there in 20 minutes and I say I'll be there in 15 minutes. And there is like nothing really for me to lose if I am honest. I don't even know why I did it. And after I noticed it, I stopped doing it. I started saying the right amount of time, or like maybe I'm on my way to the bus and I text, I'm on the bus. And I don't know why I did it. And after I noticed it, I stopped doing it. And I think there are many situations where you can say the truth and it's not like you will lose your job kind of situation or whatever. I think in most situations, like really the vast majority of situations, it's possible to be truthful, but you have to want to do it. And I will do it in a second video. But this first video is about being aware of it, being aware of the fact how often we forget consciously to think about the fact that people just really learned this behavior and now they are acting out this behavior of saying what they think is expected and not making the words match exactly what they mean. And we somehow, as a society, will have to break out of it. But that's the second part, as I said. So let me know what you think about this. And thank you for watching. See you soon.